Geshkan Khabiba min kulli kaditun geshoka Allah narabab shana biyochun. Gudahat spekta met hamzimin blishana Englishaya li qarat architadian. Professor Stephanie Dalley is a British Assyriologist and a scholar of the ancient Near East. Prior to her retirement, she was a teacher at the Oriental Institute of Oxford. She is known for her publications of cuneiform text and her investigation into the Hanging Garden of Babylon and her proposal that it was situated in Nineveh and constructed during Sennacherib's rule. On behalf of myself, Emmanuel Yousif from Zilgo Media, and on behalf of the Assyrian nation, and also I can say on behalf of my ancestors, the mighty kings of Assyria, thank you for your valuable dedication of time and effort that you gave during your lifetime on the ground of Assyria or behind the artifacts. And it's a big honor for me to welcome you on our program here in Sydney, Australia, on the ground of Eden Venues, also the venue of the Assyrian Australian Association. Thank you so much for this interview and very welcome, Professor.
Thank you, Emmanuel. It's very nice to be welcomed here, and I'm enjoying finding out about your organization, which is far more important than I had realized.
I find it very difficult, of course, with this short time, to put thousands of years and your knowledge into 1 hour, but it's an honor. And also, I cannot stress enough to thank you for this time and this golden opportunity. Let's start tell us about your starting. Let us say, if I may ask, what drew you into studying the Hanging of Gardens and ancient Mesopotamia, and perhaps maybe even if you can start from the very beginning, as where you're born and your childhood, into this question that I just asked now?
Well, I was brought up mainly in Cambridge. I was born during the Second World War, me and my three sisters, and my parents were there mainly. But when I went to school in Cambridge, I had no idea that I wanted to be, in particular, an Assyriologist. In fact, until I was about 18, I had no idea where the Middle East was, where Iraq was. When I first had an offer to go on a dig there, I had to go to my atlas to find the place.
Wow.
Because the education, of course, that you have in a place like Cambridge, it does its best, but it doesn't encompass the whole world.
Indeed.
And you have to learn about things that are regarded as more closely related to your own culture. So we did a certain amount of English history, we did a certain amount of Greece and Rome, but I hadn't heard really of the Babylonians. And of course, I'd seen pictures of reconstructions of the Hanging Gardens, but I didn't really know what they were all about.
And I believe in your documentary, you visited Iraq very quickly. How did you see Iraq in the beginning when the first time you visited, and then you went back to film that documentary? How did you see the differences?
Well, when I first went to Iraq, I was just had a wonderful time because it was so different from Cambridge. You know how it is when you're 18 or so and you want to get away, have adventures, see something different. And I just loved the differences and the particular way in which a whole set of values seemed to be different among the people of Iraq. I loved the territory, and I loved the excitement of excavation, where I had not realized that you could dig up thousands of clay tablets which had records of administration and literature and religious content, hymns and prayers, and they had never been read before. For 4,000 years, some of them had been hidden in the ground. And when they come up, they're dirty. You've got to clean them before you can see what you've got. They crumble a bit. They have to be handled very carefully. But it's miraculous that it survives. And then you have the excitement, which eventually I learnt. I went back to Cambridge and studied there to learn how to do it. So then I could go back and publish these cuneiform tablets and tell the world what they said. And that's why you dig, or one of the reasons why you dig. And to my mind, texts are the most important things. They tell you a lot more than most of the other things that you dig. You get different information from architecture or from pottery or from adornments of various kinds, sculptures. But really texts, to my mind, and of course I'm biased, they are the most important thing that we can retrieve from the ancient world.
When I done my homework before I come to the interview, I checked all into your expertise, and I learned that your most expertise would be, according to Google and the ChatGPT, that your expertise are into two subjects, starting with the Hanging Gardens and God Ansha. But talking about the Hanging Gardens, especially your outstanding lectures that you delivered on Gilgamesh Festival at the University of Sydney and here at Eden Venues, the Assyrian Association. Can you tell us, in your research, what was one of the most surprising or challenging discoveries that you made about the Hanging Gardens back in Iraq there? Did you find any surprises or any dangerous movement that you may face, or any surprises that you faced during your exploring?
Do you mean during the filming, actually?
It could be, yes. It would be more emphasized on that, yes, during the filming time. Well, especially, if I may say, it was during the ISIS when they attacked or conquered the state, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't think. I mean, certainly when we were in the area around Nineveh, it was not possible for me to go there. Mm-hmm. We were in Erbil, and of course, if you arrive with a camera crew and all the people who are looking after this documentary, you could be a target for people to take and ask for ransom, which would cause an immense amount of trouble to a whole lot of other people, indeed, quite apart from being alarming for yourself. But I didn't feel that the risk was particularly high, and I'm sure that the people who organized it had looked into the troubles. But the result was that I couldn't actually go to Nineveh itself, but we invited two local people who knew what to look out for, how to deal with it all. We showed them a map and exactly where to go, what to look for, in case there was something to be done to identify the site of the Hanging Garden. But actually the mound is so eroded, so damaged by many thousands of years of problems, that there was nothing very specific, I would say, except to know that those two excellent men who took small cameras with them, they said the view was particularly good from the spot where I had suggested the garden was. But otherwise, it's terribly ruined. And you just have to hope for something else to come to light.
Perhaps for the very simple or basic person who is viewing this interview, and I remember one of the guests had asked you, why do you think it's very difficult to find the Assyrian artifacts? Why is everything is so deep under the ground and not easy to reach? If you can simply, if I may ask,
yes,
did the environment taking part into covering, or what's the main reason that it is extremely hard? Did someone really put them under the ground or cover them with the dirt, or what exactly your point of view on this?
Well, there's palaces which are mainly on the buildings on the main mound, palaces and temples. They are mainly built in mud brick, and they have wonderful roofing made with cedar beams, for example. But once the roof starts to fall in, people are going to take the cedar beams because they're very useful for local people in hard times. And then they're going to take some of the mud brick that is not damaged, because again, their houses have been damaged some way away. And then they're going to pick up little things that are available in the ruins. But the ruins then will become a mound themselves. And then people build on top of the mound for new things. And then that decays, and then it goes on up and up and up. And then it's just really rubble of mud brick and some straw and some baked brick. But essentially it is unbaked brick, which is made of mud and straw. And you have to clear it out of the rooms at tremendous depth if you want to get down to the floor where Sennacherib walked. You can see from the excavations that Layard did in the middle of the 19th century that they had to tunnel down and work almost in the dark to get down to the level that they were interested in. And they didn't bother to clear all the courtyards. That would have taken thousands of men.
Wow.
A very long time. And you're always short of time, you're always short of money.
And if we will say, let's say, how long you think the whole area that can be really needs to be discovered or digged in to find furthermore artifacts or other palaces or other places that need to be discovered? Do you have an estimation?
I can't estimate it really, but I do know that Italian expeditions and German expeditions in particular are making very good progress on where they can sort of target a likely good place to excavate. But sometimes you spend an awful long time finding nothing much. Mm-hmm. But recently they've been finding really remarkable discoveries of continuity at Nineveh. It's not just a mass of rubble. It's not like the Gaza Strip is now. It is, it's almost a buried treasure house where you can't get at the treasure and where mostly it perhaps has been looted in ancient times.
The reason why I'm asking, I'm not sure if you probably allow me to say if you are aware of recently, they discovered statues of Lamassu that is height, if I'm not mistaken, 7 meters high. And they consider it as one of the itself. So I think, did you face any of these giants founds like did you face one of these during your excavation?
Well, the first time I was in Iraq, I went to Nimrud, which is just to the south of Nineveh. It's another big city, really quite close. And there is a place there where I suppose the road has made a cutting down through the ruins, and there is half of a winged bull sticking out of the ground, and you can see it every day when you drive down to the dig. Mm-hmm. So that reminds you that there's still plenty there. It just, some of it may just come to light, but there's always the worry that somebody will manage to remove it.
Do you think you will go back there to discover more into the place of the Hanging Gardens?
Well, I don't think I personally will, because my health insurance is too great. One of the disadvantages of getting to my age is that you're more expensive. You're more likely,
of course,
to need medical help, and it is expensive and it's dangerous and all the rest of it. So it's fine to come to Sydney.
It is, and we are so honored.
But going to Iraq is a different matter.
That's a different, indeed, a very probably long travel. Do you think, Professor, there is other Assyriologists that you know will take your path and really are matching your abilities and your knowledge? Is there any names that you would like to mention?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's some marvelous people digging at the moment. Professor Marchetti from an Italian university, Professor Maul from Heidelberg, and many, many other people who work with them are doing a terrific job in quite difficult conditions, I must say. But they've managed to achieve the backing of for funding and expertise. They also can, I think, bring back samples that help with the identification of various, metals, pottery, and maybe even plant material, because scientific archaeology has grown hugely since I was in the field. And it's laboratory work where you have to take the material back, borrow it to take back, and do the tests that are required.
Talking about the technology and the changing of science, of course, everything is developing. Do you think the artificial intelligence is taking part into your field in terms of reading the tablets? In terms of, I was really thinking the way that you described the hanging gardens, and you mentioned the name of the drawer, the person that, I'm sorry, I missed that name, but you mentioned that.
Terry Ball.
Yes. And we thank him for doing that. But do you think with these specific features and numbers that was given on the tablets, do you think that you put that into the AI, do you think it can give us some more close to the reality?
No, I don't really. I mean, I don't understand AI well enough to know whether you can control what it collects up before it gives you its result. It seems to me that there's been terrific help from AI in establishing with small fragments of cuneiform tablets how they fit together. That's been really quite amazing. But in some ways it's quite limited. And I have deep suspicions of AI for that type of work.
What about the reading the CUNEIFORM? Because we are so lucky to have you. And just thinking further and, just just that put the possibility. What about how can we find more Assyriologists? These are in front of thousands, or if I may say, 10,000s of, if not more.
Oh, hundreds of thousands.
Thank you very much.
Several million,
at the time,
probably.
And wow. Then do you think that AI can help, or some sort of technology?
I'm not sure it can. You've got personal handwriting involved. So
the tablet.
On the tablet.
On the tablet, sorry.
So that it's not like a printed a line of print in English, for example, where you can be fairly sure of each word or each letter as you go along. Consider the matter of the optical character recognition that you can use to turn a printed document that's clear enough to read into a digital image, and the rate of errors in it is quite considerable. If we can't even do that at 100%, we're going to have a terrible time, and you won't be able to recognize when it's gone wrong unless you already know what it should say. So I doubt that it is going to be very useful, and I think it takes away the input of the brain of the person who's doing it. Artificial intelligence is trying to replace you.
True.
It doesn't want you to be there thinking about it.
Yes, until many.
It's just going to tell you it's this. And it's only if you're rather, rather as I am, inclined to say that's not right. You've got to challenge it. And that you shouldn't be challenging the AI, you should be challenging the text as it's written. So, yes, I think people are going to start questioning the AI and not questioning the text. I don't know if that makes sense.
I do understand, yes.
But I really don't think there's a substitute for experience and brain and reading around and choosing what to read next when you're trying to work on something. But the excitement of it, I would hate to see the excitement go, because when you get a new tablet or a new group of tablets, it is such a thrill to try to work out initially where you are, what it says, what it contributes. And I don't want that ever to be a matter of simply spending your life looking at some horrible little screen and wasting your eyesight, really, trying to do it in that sort of electronic way. I found myself that if you're trying to read a new tablet, you hold it in your hand, if it's not too enormous, and you the light, suppose the sun is shining up there, and you're looking down, and you can just wiggle it a little bit, and suddenly you'll be able to see something that you couldn't see before. If you're going to do something with AI, I suppose you can manipulate the light on it. But you're so busy manipulating the light that you might not be dealing with the actual thing itself. I don't know. This may be that I'm too old to engage with AI, but I have deep reservations about it.
Fair enough. You spoke about the handwriting of the tablet, which I understand perhaps you meant the pressure that the writer is putting through the pen. Is that
not entirely? You can have a sign that is not always written in exactly the same way by the pen, by the stylus.
Is it like a punch? Would the writer would punch the tablet, or can you give us a brief idea how would they write on the tablet?
Well, they wrote very quickly.
Very quickly.
We know that a really good scribe could write as fast as you could speak. Now, I think that may be a bit of an exaggeration by a scribe who wants to be thought better than anybody else. But I think they were very quick, and sometimes the stylus will slip a bit, or sometimes it will cross over the line above slightly, or the line below, or sometimes when the tablet curves at the edge, you will get a slightly different looking form of the sign. You're not on a flat surface, you're on a cushion-shaped surface where usually the front is fairly flat, but it curves around the surface on the right-hand side. And then it comes over, turn it upside down, and it's written on the base. And then you've got the corners, which may have clay that's been squeezed a bit. And, there are all sorts of little things that make each sign slightly different.
It's very interesting for me. What about if they made a mistake, if the writer made a mistake? How do they wipe or correct the work? Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Just a pressure, and
yes.
That's it, to delete that.
Delete that.
That word. Wow.
Yes. You imagine using damp clay in your pottery class, perhaps at school, and you can easily do that. But you can see where it's happened, and sometimes you make a mistake and you don't bother to correct it. And we've got lots of school tablets now where they're making mistakes. You've got school exercises written in rather weird, big writing because, you know how children start off trying to write with their writing. So it's not a simple matter. It's not like a printed page where every letter is a standard letter.
Before I move on from this interesting language of the cuneiform, do you still love to read a couple of the tablets, or do you miss reading the tablets? And perhaps, if I may say, do you still practice reading the tablet? Depends on which language.
Yes.
Syrian.
The last set of publishing of tablets that I did was 470 something in a private collection, which represented a dynasty where we'd never had anything attached to it before. And people said perhaps it shouldn't have been in the king list. And it was absolutely thrilling to be able to read those tablets. Towards the end of it, I had had enough of doing that kind of copying and editing, partly because my eyesight had deteriorated. And I think a lot of people find that their days of, you've got to copy it. And some people say, oh, well, you can photograph everything. I don't think that really works. You might have to have 10 different photographs for a single tablet. So if you're going to have an edition with photographs for each of 470 tablets, it's going to be a monstrous book.
Wow.
It's better, in my opinion, to copy it. It's not perfect, and you can do it together with the photos in the case where you're not sure about it. You can always put in a photograph into your edition of that particular sign. But, nobody's eyesight gets better as they get older, and mine didn't either.
I have tons of questions about this subject and many subjects, but I'm bearing the time, and it's very interesting. I don't want to make you more tired, with
That's all right.
I appreciate your time as well. Let's quickly move on. And what was the most memorable time, if we go back from the time that you visited Iraq, many times that you visited, what was the most memorable time, or that you would like to talk about it during your exploring and your time being there that you would like to share with the viewers?
Right. Well, when I was at Tel al-Rimah, which is south of Tel Afar, near the Jebel Sinjar, south of the Jebel Sinjar.
Jebel Sinjar. Oh, you speak Arabic as well?
Well, not much.
Not much. You learned of it, yeah.
Of course.
And the modern Assyrian, is it a bit or more probably
not
into
really.
Arabic more? Yes, please, carry on.
And I like the sound of Arabic very much.
The more semantic.
Yes, I find it very, a poetic language, really. It is a very poetic language.
What about as I said, I have many questions. Sorry about this. We were talking about one thing, and then do you know more than the Assyrian Arabic? Do you know Hebrew, for example?
I know Old Testament Hebrew. I had to study that with Akkadian at Cambridge, yes.
Wow.
And that's relatively easy because it's got good dictionaries and grammars in English. It's got good commentaries. It's a restricted amount of text. So it's quite easy to study it at a certain level. The difficulty is, of course, understanding what you're reading.
Yes, indeed.
So, yes, but I always wanted to learn Arabic, and unfortunately, I've never managed to make the time or find the right person to teach it. It's not easy to teach it. But I have a very good school friend, Carol Hillenbrand, who does teach Arabic, or did teach Arabic supremely well. But we were both busy at the time, and she was teaching in Edinburgh University. We were both bringing up children. There just wasn't time.
I'm not sure if you met with the British ambassador in Iraq. He speaks very fluently, especially Iraqi accent.
Good.
Are you aware of that? Have you seen him? You'll be so surprised.
I don't even know who is the current ambassador.
Unfortunately, I'm so sad that I didn't learn his name, but he's very famous. Good. He's a British ambassador in Iraq. Well, and he's always on the very well-known programs. And he speaks very fluently Iraqi accent. So going back to the question of memorables, or maybe any memory that you really would like to share with us during that time that really deserve to be shared.
Okay. Well, towards the end...
Jebel Tel Afar, I think, sorry.
Yes, that's right. At Tel al-Rimah, we'd found in previous seasons a wonderful temple with ornamental brickwork in mud brick. And then we found on the side of the mound another temple of a slightly later date with a wonderful stela of the King Adad-Nirari III in the 9th century. And it was in perfect condition in this little temple. That was really extremely lovely. But as usually happens, it was at the end of the digging season when you're actually having to pack up, take stuff back to Baghdad and all the rest of it. And so we had a terrific rush to get it done. But we'd also discovered the Queen's archive in her bathroom in the palace. And there was so much suddenly. You're digging and you're digging and you're not finding very much. And suddenly, a whole lot of things come to light. And that is very exciting. So, yes, but then you have the difficulty that another war breaks out in the Middle East and you have to go home and you don't know if you can get back to study them, and it's very difficult.
Talking about the royal family and can you give us an idea that the Assyrians, how did they bury their dead people?
The burial habits it's usually done under the floor of, perhaps in the floor of a courtyard, because you need to be near to your family and you need to make a libation of pure water into the tomb at regular intervals.
Okay.
I think it's not entirely clear to me what happens after that, but certainly there was an expectation that those people who had died had gone down to the underworld, and they needed the water because that's the basis for life, really. And maybe they had the chance then to go to heaven or something of that kind. But I don't really understand it myself. You just know that you've got a burial, it's under the floor, you can see the pipe for putting the water down, and when the next body comes along, they may shovel it up and put another body into the same place.
So that's very interesting. So have you ever come across, could be maybe silly question, but I would say, did you come across any like remaining of the kings? Would they bury them with the customs and the valuables, and or they would have be separated as the Egyptians' civilization? Do we have similarities, or
it depends? It depends on the period and the place. I mean, we do have examples of cremation as well.
Do we?
So there were a lot of different habits, and I suppose with Mesopotamian society, it's so full of people from different areas coming in and joining the society. It's very cosmopolitan, but they don't all have the same habits, of course, when they come. And there doesn't seem to have been any feeling that cremation was better or worse than inhumation. You could bury it as you thought fit. They don't seem to have had cemeteries outside the city, as far as we know. And I'm still not clear exactly how it all worked.
Fair enough. Have you met with the late Dr. Donnie George?
Yes, I did meet him, yes.
Do you have any remarks about his journey that you remember? Did you communicate with him, especially when he was the head of the Iraqi Museum prior to 2003?
Well, I only met him in Chicago, actually. My knowledge of the museum comes from the 1960s. The 1960s, when, of course, he wasn't yet in that position. There was a different head of the museum. I thought it was a very well-run museum, extremely good. And I was very happy working there for 6 months on my Telerimach archive.
Wow. We're getting into conclusion, but before we do that, let's cover the second subject, which is the gods Ansha. If you briefly, if I may ask, I'll promise you won't be long. Only another 2 hours. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Yes.
I'm just kidding. To God Ansha, of course, it's a very wide subject.
Yes.
Is God Ansha is the grandfather of God Ashur, or is he his father?
Right. Well, Ansha certainly is the prime mover of creation, together with Kishar in the Epic of Creation. But that's quite a late composition in the form that we have it. Later on, Ansha, in my opinion, has been wrongly thought to be used as a spelling for Ashur. I don't think that's right. And I'm looking into how to prove that Ansha is a god who is a collective of gods. His name is used as a collective for the purpose of swearing oaths of loyalty. Imagine if you're the commander of the army.
Okay.
And you've got all these officers and important people, and they're coming back from a campaign, and you can't let them into the city until they have sworn an oath of loyalty to the current ruler. And the oaths are ferocious oaths. terrible things are going to happen to you if you don't observe them, if you try to break the oath. So I think this is clear from the vassal treatise of Esarhaddon that some of the oaths are sworn by Anshar, and in the very same text, others of the oaths are sworn to Ashur. So they are separate deities. It cannot be, therefore, that Anshar is used simply as a writing for Ashur. But there's a lot of working out that has to be done for that.
Fair enough. Is there any symbol of Anshar? Of course, there's no slideshow that you would show us. But do you think there's a symbol that you learn this is Anshar, or we can, as a simple people, those who are not academic and obviously studied the history, is there any symbol on the artifacts that would say, here we go, this is God's Anshar?
I think it may be the winged disc. That doesn't mean that Ashur also isn't the winged disc. I mean, I think...
The one with the cross inside, or similar to?
That's the difficulty, to know whether these small differences in the winged disc are significant. It's a complicated thing.
I understand.
I'm not ready really to talk about it yet.
Fair enough. But I
do think
thank you so much. Yeah, but
I think it's very important. Yes.
It is. And as I mentioned, I would maybe stay for days talking about this. Perhaps we need tens of hours with you. Really, we thank you for that. So that's in terms of Anshar, God's Anshar. So a lot of talks, if we just can cover it, do you think the Assyrians worshipped one God or multiple gods?
Of course, they worshipped multiple gods. They worshipped a sun god, they worshipped a moon god, they worshipped all sorts of other gods. But in a pagan society, a polytheistic society, they can't regard that as a single god, because obviously the sun and the moon are different.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do need for the purpose of swearing oaths of loyalty, for example, is some way of referring to them all as a collective. Mm-hmm. And I think that may mislead people into thinking that they're becoming monotheistic. Now, it is a step on the way to monotheism to worship Anshar, or to name Anshar as a collective of the gods. But it's just a convenience, in my opinion. And it's the same for Zoroaster. He is one god of all gods, and he represents them all. It's different from a real monotheism, but it is a step on the way there.
King Ashurbanipal, king of the world, as he claimed himself, if I'm not mistaken, please, because obviously I'm very humbled to sit in front of you, on tablet 29th at the British Museum. This is whether probably you know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
That's the trouble. As far as I could gather from your questions, you're talking about a stone relief in the palace, not a tablet. Tablets are made of clay. This is a stone panel, is it?
Of course. Okay, I will reveal it to make it simpler on this question.
Yes.
The prayer of King Ashurbanipal, he, in his prayer to God Ashur.
Yes.
And that prayer is so close to the Christian, or the prayer that we know, to the God that we worship today, or some of us maybe worship today. Can you tell us about that? Why would King Ashur pray for one God? And the reason why I'm asking, we just want to understand whether my ancestors or our ancestors used to worship one God or multiple of gods, and I'm aware that there is a god of moon, there's a god of lights. At that time, there's a god of water, and there's multiple gods. Sorry,
yes,
because you're going to teach
them.
us. But why he chose God Ashur to pray to?
Well, the problem is, and it's a very big problem now, that the translations do not distinguish between Anshar and Ashur. They are separately written in cuneiform, but they have been translated in the same way. They are all translated Ashur, even when the signs, the cuneiform signs, have Anshar. So my job when I get back, one of them, is going to be to try to disentangle this. And at this very moment, I don't know which hymn you're referring to, because Ashurbanipal did lots of hymns and prayers, and it's quite true that Christianity has inherited some of the sort of formula that you use when you're saying a hymn or a prayer, but that doesn't really make a difference to whether this, it doesn't mean that it's monotheistic.
Well, fair enough.
It means that you have, it's like when you say, oh, heavens.
I understand. It could be.
You know, it's different from
and
a
I understand it's a long
God.
debate, and it's a wide debate about this.
It is. But the first thing that's gone wrong is that Anshar has been translated as Ashur, even when the writing says Anshar.
But again, don't you think the symbol of that god, if it's Anshar or Ashur, because Ashur we can see it's a half human with the tail of a
well, it's
bird.
never labeled. It's never labeled.
Mm-hmm.
This is an assumption. You have to ask yourself very hard, what is the evidence? Am I guessing something without evidence? And it was a guess without evidence that allowed the translation to be always Ashur, even when it said Anshar.
And very quickly, did the Babylonian also worship Anshar or Ashur, which is the name, could be the symbol the same, but the name there in Babylon is Marduk?
Well, we know that in Uruk, after the fall of Assyria, people from Assyria went down and lived in Uruk. And there they took the name of Anshar, but not the name of Ashur with them. It didn't matter to the people there. You could use the title Baal, Lord, for Marduk, for Nabu, or for other gods.
And is Baal in Arabic, sorry to cut you off, but is Baal, you mean Baal in Arabic?
No, it's not. It's different.
Prior the Muhammad's religion.
This is in the time of Nebuchadnezzar II, that Marduk is known also as Baal.
Baal.
But Baal is the East Semitic version of the name. Baal, you can hear in my voice
more strong.
You have got the ayin in the middle.
True.
And it's always distinct from Baal, Baal, or just with a logogram. It's different from Baal, which is the West Semitic.
So it's two different gods.
It's a title that can be taken by a god who is considered to be the top. So it depends where you are. There are places where the storm god is the top god. So he is Baal in East Semitic, or he can be Baal in West Semitic.
West Sem.
So it's quite a complicated business in a way, except that, you know, you can call a number of gods or even people, my lord, maybe to flatter them if they're people. and maybe indeed to flatter the god or to pay respect to him, to call him, "O Lord, save me." That's quite a common personal name. "O God, save me. O Lord, save me." It doesn't mean that there's one worshipped, one God is being worshipped. It means it's leaving it open. I think deliberate ambiguity is a great help when you're not quite sure how to do things.
How did you see, or how did you find the Gilgamesh festival here in Sydney, Australia, and your participation?
Well, it's come as at the end of a long period of study where I tried to find out what to do with the Gilgamesh epic that I hadn't really done before. And I've been very surprised at what I found and worked extremely hard, partly because I am going to do a fully revised edition of my myths from Mesopotamia, which has been going since 1986, and partly because there's been work done on Gilgamesh after cuneiform, which has come to light in papyri and other sources in the meantime. So it's been a very thrilling ride to have to do this in time to come to Sydney and to be as clear as I possibly could in rather complicated evidence to show that Gilgamesh, his name and the name of Humbaba, name of Utnapishtim, those are found much, much later in non-cuneiform sources, and to find out why that is.
So can we claim that Gilgamesh is an Assyrian figure? And if not, why did the Assyrian look after that part? Was it just only to collect the story and put it in Ashurbanipal's library? Or he was really a part of the Assyrian legacy or history?
Well, Gilgamesh does start off as a Sumerian hero, and that basically, I think, is Uruk and Ur are the cities where he is most important and where he was thought to be, at some stages, the ruler. The Assyrians were in awe of the literary achievements of the Babylonians and the Sumerians, and so they collected what they could, and then they modified it, they made it their own, and they developed it, just as some perhaps French or German literature will be developed in England by people who admire it, and work is written that derives from it. So it isn't originally Assyrian, but it is a credit to the Assyrians that they picked it up and studied it and copied it and modified it in parts for their own use. And in the reign of Sargon II, it looks as if he made some alterations in the epic. And I think this is pretty well accepted by scholars in the field.
Before I conclude, just very random question. If I may ask, on your desk, which of these sculptures of the ancient figures of Mesopotamia that we think, or may I think, it's on your desk or on your wall? Do you have any figures? Very curious about this.
I see.
Maybe I'm asking too much about...
In the back bathroom. I have a big photograph of a panel that was found in a public school in England that had been given by Layard, Henry Layard, who dug Nineveh. It was given to one of his sponsors, one of the people who had helped him. And it was discovered in the school, covered in whitewash, and the school sold it for many millions of pounds to a Japanese museum in Japan, at the top of the mountain somewhere. And it was just such a splendid find and so unexpected that I put the photograph in the back bathroom. But the other thing in my little study that I have got Terry Ball's drawing of the reconstruction of the Hanging Garden, because he did such a nice job of that for me. And he was so careful with the evidence, because it's very hard to find people who really are careful with evidence. They say, well, what is the evidence for that? And am I trying to push it into looking like evidence? And that's yes. Those are the two things that I have alongside my latest dog, who died a little while ago.
Oh, I feel sorry for that. I know dog and pets are basically a member of a family nowadays.
Of course.
That's a conclusion, but
right.
I cannot stop. And every time remembering one thing to ask, but I promise you, this is the last question.
Okay.
Or last two questions. It's maybe
last
better
two?
to answer.
Okay.
How did you see the Assyrian community here in Sydney, Australia? And perhaps if you have a chance, maybe you might visit Melbourne. I'm not sure, but probably. How did you see the Assyrian community? And I believe I saw the photos. You visit the schools,
yes,
the primary schools, and probably you might visit the secondary or the high school.
Yes.
How did you see that? Your vision and also your message to the Assyrian people around the world.
Yes.
To everyone who's watching you or will watch you after this interview.
Well, I thought the schools were wonderful. I did wonder myself, people are discussing, of course, whether getting back to an original homeland is a possibility. And I don't feel that I can discuss that really, because I have my reservations about that. And it seems to me that Jewish communities outside Israel have done very well without having to have a homeland. Australia is very lucky, actually, to have the Assyrians, because they have real scholarly values and real scholarly interests. The reservation that I would have is that they're having more and more to learn Assyrian from outside Assyria, and that they are not then learning a second language which will be useful in other parts of the world, so that it's possible that will restrict employment opportunities. This has happened in Wales, in a part of the United Kingdom, where they have revived their language very effectively, and they teach it in all their schools. But the parents say, we're glad we're doing this, but our children are not able to get jobs where they require to learn Spanish or Arabic or whatever. So I have only just been introduced to these issues while I've been here, and it's been very, very interesting to have to think about them. But I am a learner in the respect of giving you any kind of answer. Probably you should totally ignore what I say.
Indeed. Many times I saw in your lectures, and Professor Perpola, you reference your speech and you went going backward and forward from the Bible or from the...
Yes.
If we conclude with this, do you have any vision of where it says in Isaiah that in one day or that day there will be a way between Assyria and Israel, since you mentioned the Jewish community, and the Assyrians will come to they worship the God, and with the Egyptian and the Israelites will be their third. I know probably will say now, but since you mentioned this, and we admire that, of course, the other nations as a Jewish community who are preserving their language outside their homeland.
Outside it.
What do you have, your vision about that particular part of Isaiah's prophecy? And that's it. I'll conclude with that, as I promised.
Yes. Okay. I don't know. Is this third Isaiah? Which
Isaiah was mentioning that day there will be a way or a bridge.
The thing is, Isaiah's name has been attached to more than one writer. And the first part of Isaiah I know a little about because it definitely relates to the periods I do know about. The later bits of Isaiah, which have taken his name and attached it to the bits that I hope to know a bit about. I just don't know where the background is, why he's saying that. Was this put in as a pseudo-prophecy after the coming of Jesus? It's a possibility, just as Bulakia, possibly a form of Gilgamesh's name, announces the coming of Muhammad when Muhammad has already come. Because you want to prove, and it's...
But that was before.
It's a fake. It's a fake. This is the trouble. It'll upset people.
Well, that's the reason why that's the interviews, and you can share your point of views, and we'll leave the judgment for the...
Well, I just don't know enough about the date of the late parts of Isaiah, and I don't know which chapters.
But have you heard about that prophecy?
Well, I've read it without understanding it.
Fair enough. Okay.
That's the trouble. You have to read an awful lot that you don't understand.
Indeed.
And then you have to work carefully at what you hope to contribute to understanding it.
Professor, as I mentioned, it's an honor. Thank you so much once again on behalf of myself, Emmanuel Yousif from Zilgo Media. And also I'd like to mention definitely a big thank you from the Assyrian Association, the organizers of Gilgamesh Festival, the Eden venues, the wonderful, the outstanding works of Donald Barku, and also from Video Eket and all of us from Zilgo Media. Once again, it was a golden opportunity for us to sit here and talk to you and interview you and get closer to you and your journey. Thank you again, and hopefully we'll see you more in Sydney here in the coming years. And maybe
it's a long way to come.
And perhaps we learn more about your coming projects, as you mentioned.
I hope I can continue to do them. Thank you very much for your patience interviewing me.
Thank you. ألخ خبيرا تودي كل خنديتنا باروجة خزخلخن قد بقياته دينا بتاعي بوشم شيئا.